So I'd be more than happy to try and answer any questions if you have any. And just wanted to thank you for giving me some of your time to share the little that I know.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nigel. That was fabulous. I do have a question. And by the way, everyone's muted at the moment, so you'd have to unmute yourself if you have a question to ask. But um, I thought I'd just ask on the Type 3s, you said there was only a 1 and 2 issued and no others. And I was wondering if that kind of was anything like Barbados, because in Barbados, the main post office went through more councillors than the parishes. And I'm just wondering if that was the same in Trinidad.
It could have been because remember, they would have been handling the bulk and the majority of the mail. So it's plausible that they were wearing down councils left and right. And there was a need for issuing a council on different, well, replacement councils. And then maybe at the time, somebody had a different design. So they said, here you go. Here's one to replace your number one. By the way, it's different. Go with it. So
I have some theories as to why that might have happened at that time. You had a chart there. It had a lot of blue arrows, if I recall correctly.
Hold on a second. Let me. You mean the time period?
Toward the beginning. There we go. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, well, the first mark, it's struggling with the ink and making sure it doesn't smudge. It might be they may have to wait for the ink to dry for a few minutes between each postmark, and you can't start taking the letters and throwing on top of each other because you wouldn't be able to read anything. So someone thought, well, that's probably a bad idea. Let's find an ink more a design that the ink dries faster.
That could very well be, because if you go look at the Type 1A, there was a lot of
black
surface area for ink to be on, versus they redesigned it where the ink was minimal.
Right, and a lot of edges, so it has a chance to. It couldn't pool so easily in the center. And then secondly, it might not be that the post office asked the same person or entity to create a postmark. Maybe the first one, yes, and the second one went to somebody else. Or maybe it wasn't done at the post office. Maybe it was done at different shops down the road. So there's always who the printer was might have had a significant effect. Everybody would do it differently, not necessarily with any logic that we could perceive.
All great things that are possibilities. Unfortunately, nobody documented why they did what they did. So a lot of it is by inference and speculation.
You just have to find the printing bill.
To find a what?
The printing bill. Call up the government and say, give me the printing bill when you ordered the new date stamps in 1873 and see what happens.
Well, I wish it was that easy.
I'm only kidding.
The Type 3 is very similar to the obliterators that were produced in London and sent out to the colonies at that time. I know for Jamaica they had the AO1, which was introduced in 1858 when the GB stamps came out. So I wondered if some of these were locally produced and some of them came from London.
Another great set of questions. I always wondered that myself. Where did these come from? That Type 4 that I showed you guys, that thing looked so crude. It almost looked like somebody made it in their home. So what I don't have a reference for is what the councillors would have looked like back in England. If anybody has any examples of what the councillors look like, I'd be more than happy to to see what you have. So I don't know. It's a good question.
It's a shame James Podger isn't here, because I think they have got a couple of examples in the Royal. They've certainly got some examples of forgery cancellors, but I'm not sure if... Do you know, Steve?
No, I don't know.
I think there's one on display downstairs in the main coffee lounge I've seen
Yeah.
there.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Chris Harmon's on the Zoom. Do you know Chris?
Yeah, of course there is a Parmenter books. There's 8 volumes or something of all the numerals of GB. So there's no secret about them, and including those made for use abroad in one volume. So there's masses of information on that. But the actual handstands themselves, remarkable how few there are. There's only one Maltese cross in existence, when there must have been hundreds all around the country, and one has survived. So there didn't seem to be a sort of call in of the cancellors to destroy them, but they just sort of disappeared, and they haven't been seen for a very long time.
Yeah,
mean,
it's a shame.
Looking at them, I would say that the Harriet type 01A and 01B are locally produced, because I don't think there's any other council from anywhere else in the world quite like those. But the type 03 does look rather British.
They do look rather unsophisticated for the 1A and 1B. It's very likely they were locally produced. I mean, I guess if there are any other postmark collectors, have you guys seen anything that looked like these before?
No, not for 01A or 01B that I can think of.
Nigel, if I've understood what you said correctly, if anyone has any of the examples of rare ones that you've mentioned, or ones that you say you haven't seen, you would presumably appreciate them sending a scan to you.
Absolutely. I'd love to communicate with whomever
Because I
may
know that
have other examples.
Paul Farmond asked a similar question with regard to censor covers, and he's massively increased his census of censor covers since asking. So if anybody here tonight's watching and thinks, well, I'm going to go have a look at my album because I think I've got a few examples, then please do make a point of sending them to Nigel, or if you can't get them to Nigel, send them to me and I'll forward them to him.
That would be great. And I should have put my email up on a slide, but when I modify this PDF, I'll have my email on there, and one of you kind folks, if you want to post it up, you're more than welcome.
We can also put into the footer as well of the YouTube when we put it up there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we know what the sorry? I was wondering, do we know what the cancellors are made of? Are they steel or wood?
So I will show you the one that I was able to look at in the flesh, and the handle is wood, and at the bottom there's a steel insert. This picture is somewhat very old, so the phone technology back then wasn't as great. I wish I would have had a better picture of it, but it is a rather shabby looking handle with a small base and a metal insert at the bottom. And I think, as obviously as time went on, they were more refined and probably made of steel entirely. So
Nigel,
Oh,
Sorry, but were we correct in assuming that you said before that this one is now missing? Is that right?
What do you mean?
This canceller that you've seen, which was in J. Chin A Leong's collection, has it now gone missing?
No, no, no. I believe it's still in his collection. Um, but it's the only canceller of this period that I am aware of. All the other ones, like the Maltese Cross, um, nobody knows where they are. So
now,
it could very well be in a box in a vault somewhere, but I highly doubt it because I think if it was, it would probably be on eBay by now.
now, one of the things with when using these canceling devices is the effort it takes to actually ink something properly, and your use of the hand, and with all of these devices, the hands got really tired. As you know, you're doing it constantly all the time, and so it was a big deal for all the clerks, the postmasters, exactly how the top of the knob, what that really looked like, because there was a difference between having an aching hand at the end of the day and not. And so we look at it and go, oh, it's just, you know, look, we're just focused on the bottom and the steel plug, but you know, they would go a little crazy because it's always problematic. And and the reason I bring this up is because recently they've been using these rubber cancels all the time. You know, that you can get at a print shop because it's much easier on the hand.
Yeah, I mean,
But they fall apart quickly.
I have a theory on how most of these sock on the nose were done. If you've tried canceling stamps at a local post office or anything yourself, hitting it on dead center on the nose the majority of the time it's quite difficult. At least for me it is. So I have the feeling that what they would have done is just take the canceller, place it on the stamp as center as they thought it was, and then use the other hand to hammer on the ink from the top. So I would presume that's probably how they got some of the perfect cancels. The other ones, they probably just inked it in the pad and then wherever it landed, it landed. But the really nice ones, I think they were more done with purpose or a very skilled postmaster.
What is your theory of the posthumous cancellations? You get the early stamps with cancellations that are probably 10, 15 years further on in date wise. So they must have existed somewhere, mustn't they?
Well, that's a very good question. I don't know. I'm not sure I can answer it.
No, but they do exist, and the cancellations don't look like they're fakes. They look like they've been struck by the original canceller, and they're out of date.
Then those would be probably favor cancels at the time, or possibly somebody had access to the canceller and applying it. But
so they did exist for some time, but not as recently as now, if you like. So I mean, I've got sort of the purple brown with cancellers that didn't exist until the 1860s, which is definitely not original.
Yeah. David, you do collect Trinidad on a serious note, do you?
Yes.
Okay. That type 1A, numeral 7 and 3, is that yours?
No, sadly, I missed the sale. It belonged to Federico Borromeo, and that's And I was the underbidder, I think, when it came up then, and then I missed it the second time around. But on that cover, there's two numerals. There's a blue numeral 20, I think, and then there's a manuscript 30. And I'm very intrigued by what those could represent.
On the one that I showed as a type 1A
Yeah.
example? No, that's a number 7, and that's a, here, let me go back to it. Oh, sorry. Don't need to make everybody dizzy here. Okay,
yes, so we've got there's a 20 at the top right in blue, and then there's a 30 at the bottom. And I totally baffled what those could represent.
I have no clue. I don't know. Well, they're certainly not transit marks, because where this was going from and where it was going to, there was no towns with those numbers anyway.
Normally, these type of numbers actually do have some significance.
Yeah. I don't know.
Is that 20? Is that an ink or is that a pencil?
Looks like crayon.
Yeah, I think it's crayon.
So maybe it's a routing mark. No, like the postman's route.
No, but that's what I'm saying. It was going from Arima to Port of Spain, and then there's a St. Joseph number 3 cancel mark. 20 would not have existed. 20 is on the other end of the island at La Brea. So there was no way it would have got rerouted to the south and then back up to the north. The route would not have been plausible.
Right. No, that's assuming it was related to the numeral cancels. But I'm just saying that they may have just had local postmen wandering around Port of Spain, 20 different post guys going off, and this is on one. But you think you'd see it somewhere else. It wouldn't just be a one-off thing. It can't be only piece of mail going in there.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of mysteries here.
They could even be filing marks, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Could be filing marks. I wonder if it was dealer pricing.
I think that's the most likely answer.
What's that?
I think that's the most likely answer.
Oh, just blame the
There's a filing mark.
I think a filing makes sense. Yeah.
Possible.
So
Anyway,
how
does it-
many Trinidad numeral cancel collectors do we have on the call?
Well, I have a collection.
Susan, David,
Yeah.
not a trip.
You have a collection,
Jonathan?
David?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them all on cover.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
I'm not doing very well, though.
I have them with stamps, and I'm now adding covers, but not nearly enough at the moment, I'm afraid. But it is a most interesting subject. You're going to have to come over and come to the Royal and go to the library there, Nigel, and study the Perkins-Bacon issues of stamps and things and see where they were being sent and so on. That may give you answers to some of these questions.
Yeah, I have a lot of things to accomplish with these. So
to be fair, most of that information is in Marriott or in Perkins-Bacon records. So there's not a great deal beyond what has been extracted from there. I'm just looking at a type 1A in my collection, which I think is a number 3 on a stamp, nicely struck on a stamp. So these, I think all of us have got a few things that sort of that on individual stamps happen to have a postmark that is of interest.
So one of the things that I noticed here was this number 3 on the stamp is of a different size than the number 3 on this cover. And one of two theories I have. Were there two different types of number 3s? Or is this an incorrect number 3? Do you see the difference?
Mm.
No, the one I'm looking at is different again. I better send you a scan. I better send you a scan.
Please do, because the smaller villages are very tricky.
Yeah.
And who was that had the number 3? Was that you, Chris?
Chris Harmon.
Okay.
So I'm
Father
conscious of
John,
time.
are you with us still?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any of the early type 1s in your
No, no,
collection?
I'm not even a collector of Trinidad, but I just was fascinated by the subject, and I'm always very keen to hear an expert, and I've not been disappointed in that.
Well, thank you for those kind words.
Well, you expanded my knowledge. So there.
That's a lot easier to do.
Hey.
Yes,
You know, I'm kidding.
I think I have to look at my material now and see what I have. You've certainly piqued my interest on a few of these.
Well, I look forward to meeting you, hopefully in the near future. And if you put your hands on what you have, bring it, because then I'll bring what I have, and we can definitely drink a lot of coffee or have a big lunch going through some stuff.
Sure. Sure. I wonder, are there Trinidad restaurants in the north suburbs?
Sadly, there is not, but we can do one better. I can prepare you some Trini food. How about that?
That'd be great.
So
So, go ahead.
I'm going to say I'm conscious of time, and I just wanted to say, does anyone have any final questions for Nigel before we wrap this up?
Well,
No?
I think somebody ought to thank Nigel for what's been a fantastic presentation. And Nigel, thank you so much. You've put a huge amount of work into this. And similar to your lovely Britannia presentation, which is on the site, this is an amazing resource for all of our members. And I know that a number of people who couldn't watch tonight plan to have a look at the YouTube once we get it going as well. So thank you very much for doing it. And we hope you'll keep us posted about progress as well.
Yes, thank you so
Um,
much.
Yeah, super.
Definitely.
My pleasure. I hope you guys find it of interest, and it'll be a resource for everyone. But the real thanks goes to that book by Marriott Medical and Ramkasoon. I just tried to update it as best as I can with examples and more current information. So